The best way to think about technology and sports is that the really value proposition around sports is that you don't have to guess what people like. Like if you have an audience, if this audience was clearly defined as basketball fans, well then you would know that if you serve them either college basketball or NBA basketball, they would be interested in consuming that and would consume it. What technology allows and the new platforms allow is you to actually find every one of those people directly, as opposed to putting it on Turner and hoping that, in marketing it enough and hoping people turn it on. If you put it on a platform where you actually know and can communicate directly with each one of those people, I think there's a really interesting opportunity to monetize those rights in a different and frankly more elevated and more valuable way. As it relates to the Olympics, I'll tell you a funny story. So the mayor and I, Mayor Garcetti and I, were in Rio for the Olympics as part of our bid. And so he and I go to opening ceremonies. His LAPD detail gets left out of the stadium, so it's just he and I, two guys going to watch opening ceremonies, and we come out of the stadium, and ceremonies are over, and we get put into this like corral coming out of the stadium, and we're just kind of walking, and his guys are nowhere to be found. We have no idea where we're going. We keep walking, and there's this bus, and there's like 30 of them, and we have these credentials on, which they're just a piece of laminated plastic. And we get on this bus, because on the front of the bus is a piece of paper that's taped to the front of the bus, and it says 3 hotels, and one of them's ours. And we're like, okay, we'll just get on the bus. And the bus fills up with people doing the same thing as us. And you know, it's a funny little example, but like the mayor of LA is on this bus, not a human being on earth other than me knows where he is. And to think about an Olympic Games in Los Angeles where you're going to have 12 million people and the ability to use technology to make the experience for those 12 million people, the experience for the athletes, the experience for the Olympic family, infinitely better is meaningful. Why can't that credential have a chip in it that knows where you are? Why can't it, you know, we've talked to athletes as they think about Olympic Games. One of the biggest problems that athletes have is, it sounds crazy, but they lose their room keys. Right? They're focused on their events, they're training, they're practicing, they're eating, and they go to their event and they forget the key to their room. Well, so what we've said is we're going to change every door at UCLA, because that'll be the athletes' village, where your credential will be your access to your room. So now you don't have to worry about losing a key. You think about ticketing. A lot of people turn on Olympic Games and you see empty seats in an environment. Well, we've got these 4 sports parks around the city. We can sell a lot more access to those parks, and when there's empty seats, using technology and dynamic ticketing and real-time ticketing, we can fill every seat for whatever price we can deliver so that the fans can enjoy that experience. So obviously transportation. I mean, hard to imagine in 2024, 2028 what the transportation system might look like, but driverless cars, you know, it's a pretty interesting thing.
You think we'll be there with driverless cars by 2028?
You're definitely asking the wrong person about driverless cars in the timeline of that, but you're going to see an environment where, you know, you'll be able to get to where you want to go much more efficiently, and with the infrastructure that's being put into place in Los Angeles. So technology in sports, as you view it, as you embrace it, is a big difference, and as you experience it on the ground, is going to change dramatically. All of that just makes the opportunity to be at an event more meaningful. If you have the best seat at the Rams Stadium for opening ceremonies, the possibility to recreate that for 1 billion people through kind of virtual augmented reality is meaningfully significant opportunity for both the Olympic movement and for all sporting events. And you know, every other piece of technology, the experience, the way people get to games, to events, the way people get the information. You know, one of the things when I went to Rio, you know, I went to almost every sport. And you sit in an event and you watch this incredible, I remember sitting at track cycling, and I'm sitting there trying to Google who the track cyclists are, why isn't that a better experience? Why aren't we being fed that information? Why aren't we able to see real-time highlights? Why aren't we able to experience while you're there all the benefits of watching a produced package that, you know, NBC produces or Eurosport produces in Europe? And so all those things are going to make the experience so much better and really show sort of really what is the magic of sport.
It's particularly exciting that you're seeing that's changing the experience of live sports.
Well, so I think it's everything except when the game of play is happening. From parking to ticketing to concessions to merchandise to highlights at timeouts to sort of everything that surrounds the experience to make it better is where there's a ton of opportunity. I think the average wait time, if you want to go buy Food at an arena is roughly 12 minutes. 12 minutes is a long time when you're only there for 2.5 hours and you paid a lot of money for a ticket. Why that should be zero. I mean, you should just be able to order from your phone and go pick it up in 5 seconds and go back to your seat. Why do you have to go wait in line and buy t-shirts and then schlep the bag around all day? You can just you buy it from your phone and have it shipped to your house. I mean, there's a lot of things that will make the experience of going to a game better. The ability to move and transfer tickets, the ability to upgrade seats in real time, the ability to tie your route for your car to the best place to park for where you sit in the arena. All the things that are sort of the impediments to going to the live event are things that are most dramatically going to change. When the game of play starts, I think you'll see, relatively speaking, much less change during that time, because that's what you go for. You go for the purity of that moment. And at every other moment, you see something different. I do think at some point, when the next time someone builds an arena 5 years from now, I'm not sure you'll see a big screen jumbotron in the middle of the arena anymore, because when I go to sporting events, or more importantly, when I take my kids to sporting events, they're not looking up at timeouts, they're looking down at their phones. And so how do you use those devices to engage with fans in timeouts as opposed to having them sit like this? I think you'll see some changes, but it's everything around the live experience.